Okay, good afternoon, Year 9. Welcome back to lesson 11 of the plants topic. This is the final lesson in the series, and it is the revision session. Why are we learning about plants? Well, almost every ecosystem and animal, including humans, depends on plants for energy. By understanding how plants work, we can improve the yield of crops and help protect our environment. Our driving question for today's lesson is, how can I revise the plants topic? Some keywords are knowledge organiser, retrieval practice, self-quizzing, and exam questions. So you might have guessed we're going to be practicing and using some techniques on how to get this information stuck in our heads for this lesson. So the 4 stages of revision that we're going to be going through today are, the first one is that we have to be able to write a knowledge organiser. So lots of you will know what a knowledge organiser is already because we've been given them for other subjects, but we're going to make our own one for this topic this time. So briefly, a knowledge organiser is just a summary of the topic all on one page. Then using that knowledge organiser, we're going to do some self-quizzing. We're all quite familiar with what self-quizzing is, but actually it is the best way to remember things, by covering something up and then having a go at writing it down. Then only when your brain is working are you actually making the memories. Then we're going to have a go at some exam questions. So there'll be a choice of low, standard and high demand questions in a separate PDF document that you have access to. And that's just so we get used to how AQA want you to present the answers, and also just getting used to some exam technique, and then we're going to be marking those as well. So the 4 stages of revision for this unit. Okay, first of all, making a knowledge organiser on the plants topic. I reckon the best way to do this is to split your page up into 4 sections. Okay, the 4 sections that I've chosen are structures of the plant, photosynthesis and the factors affecting it, transpiration and translocation, and the tests and investigations of this unit. Once you've got your 4 quarters, now you don't have to use these, but these are the 4 that I would use because it splits the topic up quite nicely, is actually to have a go to fill those boxes with as much information as you can remember. So we call this retrieval practice. So you can do as much as you can from memory. This really does help get those memories stuck into your head. If you get stuck, use your notes that you've got over the last weeks, and also there's all of the other resources that have been posted online that you can get from Show My Homework and the other videos in the unit as well. Okay, so those are my 4. Mr. Crozier has recorded himself making one of these, and we can have a quick look about how he would go through doing it. So there he is, splitting his page up into 4, and then just getting as much information down as he can from memory. So we skip through. Then he goes into a different way that you could split the unit up. Notice how he's using a ruler, multiple different colours. Oh. And notice also that there are diagrams. Diagrams really do help you memorize things like the potometer and the required practical. You might want to use diagrams to help explain those. Certainly is a lot easier than using words. Right. For the first quarter, the structures of the plant, I've written some questions down that I would suggest answering to get the important information down. So, can you draw a labelled diagram of the structure of the leaf? List the functions of the epidermal tissue, palisade and spongy mesophyll layers, and the stomata. Can you explain what meristem cells are for and where they're found? Can you explain how a root is adapted to its function? And can you explain the structure and function of the xylem and phloem? So, especially the earlier lessons, we did go through the answers to these. So you should have the answers to these somewhere. And that if you manage to answer all of these on that quarter of the page, that would be a good quarter of your knowledge organizer. Once you've got your answers written down, that is when you can cover it up and then see if you can answer them again. That's the self-quizzing. Can you remember the things once you've written it down, then cover it up, then try to get it down again? The second quarter, photosynthesis and the factors affecting it. I would suggest these questions. Write the word equation for photosynthesis. Can you write the balanced symbol equation for photosynthesis? Can you explain what glucose is used for within the plant? And there are 5 things, bullet points would do. Can you explain how glucose is used in protein synthesis? Can you explain why photosynthesis can be described as an exothermic reaction? Can you recall and explain the limiting factors of photosynthesis? Can you explain how greenhouses improve the rate of photosynthesis? And can you draw graphs to explain how temperature, carbon dioxide concentration, light intensity influence the rate of photosynthesis? So all of these things you will be able to answer if you've watched those lessons. And that could be a photosynthesis quarter. Transpiration and translocation. Can you define and explain the differences between osmosis, diffusion, and active transport? Can you explain how a potometer works with a diagram? And can you recall the factors affecting the rate of transpiration? Now, there are 4 things. Can you explain why temperature, humidity, air movement, and light intensity affect the rate of transpiration? And can you explain how stomata help controls water loss? So that would do nicely for those. And finally, the tests and investigations. This is all of the tests that we saw in the unit, and there was quite a lot of them. And I just thought 1 quarter could be just a summary of those. So in 1 quarter, can you explain how iodine can be used to test for starch? What's the positive test? What does it look like? Define independent, dependent, and control variables. For the required practical, can you explain how to investigate how light intensity affects the rate of reaction? Can you draw a labeled diagram of the apparatus used? Can you explain the patterns of the results? Can you explain how to investigate the change in mass of leaves compared to greased up leaves on a washing line? And can you explain how to compare the distribution of stomata on the top and the bottom of the leaves? Okay, so there are more questions, but there is more information than just the answers to those. But if you do get all of the answers to those questions down onto your knowledge organizer, that would be a good summary of the unit. So that's why I've given you those questions. You may go back through the PowerPoint and have a look at them. Right, once you've had a go at making your knowledge organizer and a bit of self-quizzing, then it's time to have a go at some exam questions. On Show My Homework at the moment, there are some practice exam questions for you to complete. I would like you to choose just one of the PDF documents. You don't have to print it out. You can just answer the questions by reading them from the screen. Write your answer on a piece of paper or maybe in a Word document, and then mark your answers after you've had a go of all of the questions. Okay, so the three different documents are the low demand ones are for grades 1 to 3. So if your target is a grade 1 to 3, go for the low demand ones. If your target is a grade 4 to 6, then go for the standard demand questions. And if you've got a target of 7 to 9, then have a go at the high demand questions. By all means, do more than one, but I'm suggesting just go through one of those, and that should take the hour. Okay. The marks. Sorry, there's a little mistake here. The mark scheme for the questions is in the same document as the questions. So once you've gone through how to go at answering the questions, just keep on scrolling through the document and you'll find the answers will be at the bottom. So as always, use a different color, perhaps green. Give yourself ticks for the questions that you've got right, but also, now this is really important, learn what you missed. So look at the mark scheme and think, what was I missing? And get that detail in. Okay, so today's lesson is how can I revise the plants topic? Hopefully you have made a knowledge organizer, had a go at self-quizzing on that, had a go at some exam questions, and had a go at marking. All of these things, if you do all of these things and get comfortable doing them, you will have no trouble with the GCSEs, because this is how to get the information stuck in your brain. Right, there is no Show My Homework quiz at the end of this lesson. yeah, make sure that you have completed the YouTube lessons 1 to 9, not structure and budding, but for plants rather, and that's it. Thank you so much for your patience, Year 9. Thank you for all the hard work that you've put in. There's a lot of information there, but make sure that you've done all of these things for the revision, and hopefully we've got that stuck into our brains a little bit better. Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. See you next time. Bye bye.